I'm missing you. All right, so we got Mr. Bowling. Wait for some members to get in here. All right, so got one somebody inside the live right now, bro. Microphone check. Can you hear the microphone? Pretty good. Waiting for some more members to come. All right, this is the microphone check, and then let me take my gamma down a little bit because I'm looking light, bright, damn near white right now. Yeah, Sersky. Loud and clear. Yes, Sersky. I had tweeted my microphone last night too. I fine-tuned it to something else. I fine-tuned my microphone to something else. And guess what? If it ain't one thing, it's another. Because I fine-tuned my microphone. I said, oh, it might sound a whole lot better and clearer, right? Then, now, my chair, my game chair, for some reason, it's like the air keeps going down of it somehow or another. So when I raise it up high, it keeps dropping the air. So it'd be like a low rider. So if it ain't one thing, it's another, man. But anyway, we got two somebodies in the building. We got Mr. Sheila Vault. My mom is in the building. Good morning to you. Now we got to see if we can hear the Mr. Ballin. We got to see if we can hear him without the echo. Let's try something here.
Utah heard a strange video on some phone. Now, this video, which at first seems kind of playful, is one of the most disturbing and distressing videos when you realize there will.
All right, so could y'all hear that? Now, this is only just the beginning before we get started. Hopefully, y'all heard that loud and clear with no echo. That's what I'm hoping. Then if everybody say good, then we're good. We can get started. Yes, Ersky. Probably gonna be an hour long live stream, so you might want to get you some coffee or some popcorn or something, you know. It's gonna be quite a journey. Yes, Hersky. All right, so we loud and clear and we good. So we ready for this story. We got this shopper got caught doing something evil, mature audiences only. Now I'm mature. I know you guys are mature, hopefully. If you're in here and you're not mature, you need to exit the building. Yeah. But if you're watching, that's on you and your parents. So let's get started with the story, man. Mr. Ballin always has some good stories. It is.
Disturbing and distressing videos, you realize what it's about. Fair warning, we're going to play a portion of that video in today's episode towards the episode. Also, fair warning, ending to this story is totally heartbreaking. So, your discretion is. But before we get into today's story, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, you come to the right place because that's all we do when we upload once or twice every week.
Strange,
so,
dark, and delirious.
Please move into the room directly above the like button and immediately begin posting tap
You know what?
classes in your.
I like how he be telling people to smash the like button. He be coming up like with little stories. He don't just say smash the like button. He said, he said, listen.
Every week. So, if that's of interest to you, please move into the room directly above the like buttons apartment and immediately begin hosting tap dancing classes in your apartment. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Okay, let's get into today's story.
Now, I had turned the volume up just a tad bit. I can get a better hearing of it. Hopefully, it ain't echoing still. If it is echoing, then somebody let me know, please. Caught in 4K. Disturbing images and statements. Viewer discretion is advised.
On January 28, 1976, Daniel Halstead was born in a small town in Oregon called Estacada, which is located about 30 miles southeast of Portland. Daniel's family owned a farm, so from a young age, Daniel became accustomed to getting up super early.
Is it me? Do all them little kids look like they smile damn near the same, bro? I swear, look, they smile. Their smiles are damn near the same, perfectly across the board, yo. And they smile like their mama.
Helping out with daily chores. This childhood experience on the farm instilled in Daniel a strong work ethic, and it also taught Daniel to really appreciate family. Because the family he had grown up in spent all their time together, and they all struggled and worked together every day to make ends meet. In high school, Daniel really began to blossom. He had this wonderful energy and huge radiant smile that drew people to him, and he was just one of those people.
Looked devious to me, bro. He looked devious.
He was just naturally gifted. Everything he did. It seemed totally effortless. During his high school years, he picked up playing the piano as well as the drums. Classmates affectionately nicknamed him Drummer Dan. Daniel was
Drummer Dan.
amazing with anything to do with computers or technology, and Daniel was just very handsome and very athletic and fit, and so he was really the guy that everybody wanted to be. But despite having all of these things going for him, Daniel was dealt a major blow in 1994 when he was in junior year of high school. That year, his father, who he was quite close with, died unexpectedly from a brain aneurysm. This was a crushing blow for a young man that still very much leaned on his father for guidance and support. But Daniel, like the rest of his family, found a way to just keep on going despite this immense heartbreak. 1995, so a year after his father's death, Daniel would graduate high school and he would head to Salem, Oregon, where he would go to school and earn a bachelor's degree in music. And he would stick around in Salem at another university to earn his business. And it was during those years that he was in Salem that Daniel would meet a young woman named Elizabeth Shorak, who had grown up. And she,
Elizabeth, who
was incredibly hardworking and was just naturally good at everything. She was also a model, so when she and Daniel began dating, they genuinely looked like beautiful Hollywood. In 2001, which was shortly after Daniel had earned his master's degree, he and Elizabeth got married. 5 years later, the couple, who now were the proud parents of three young children, girls and a boy, they moved to Las Vegas because Daniel had worked there. Daniel had founded this computer IT company, so skilled with computers, it was really starting to thrive, and his clients were in or around Vegas.
When you come in, make sure you smash the like button for me. I got 4 viewers in the building. I should have 4 likes. Thank you ever so kindly.
But just a few years after getting settled in Las Vegas, it would be Elizabeth's career ambitions that would take center stage in the family. Elizabeth had always wanted to get into politics, and in 2010, she decided she would run for a state senate seat in Nevada. But in order to do that, she would need to campaign really aggressively, which would mean she'd be gone a lot of the time. And so Daniel, who was working full time with this computer company, he would need to keep doing that because that paid the bills, but he would also have to become a primary parent for their three children. So when she approached Daniel and said, I really want to do this, but it requires a lot of you. Are you willing to do this? Daniel was completely supportive and actually really excited at the idea. He had no problems whatsoever. And so very soon, Elizabeth would be out on the road campaigning and trying to win the state senate seat. And Daniel would be home goofing around with the kids and taking them hiking and going to playgrounds and parks. And then after he would put the kids to bed at night, he would stay up super late and run his computer business out of their dining room. And all this additional hard work and sacrifice that Daniel was making for his wife paid off when later that year, on November 2nd, Elizabeth would run this incredible campaign that was built on family values and wholesomeness and morality. She would win the state Senate seat, which shocked the state of Nevada. And
Oh
even
wow.
more impressive, she would
So she
become
won.
the youngest woman to ever be elected to Nevada legislature at just 7 years old. So it was clear
Wow.
to everyone in Nevada and also outside of Nevada that Elizabeth was destined for greatness. She was going to be the next big political superstar. And anyone who was close to the Halseth family knew Daniel was her number one cheerleader. He was so proud. But soon, Halseth's perfect life came crumbling down. It was not long after Elizabeth had won her election that Daniel began to notice she was becoming suspiciously close with another man named Tiger Helgelian, who was a former golf pro
Uh-oh.
and fellow rising.
I know this is coming.
After noticing his wife constantly texting with Tiger, Daniel would actually reach out to Tiger directly and beg him to stop messaging his wife and to just leave his family alone. But the texting and calling and the interactions between those two would not stop. Finally, in October of 2011, so less than a year into Elizabeth's first term as a state senator, Daniel would find out that his wife and Tiger had been away together alone on this long
See there?
work trip.
See? Dang, bro.
Realized that almost certainly. Yeah.
Of course,
so
you
when
think?
his wife came home from this trip and she was packing in their bedroom, Daniel walked into the room and accused her of being faithful.
Bro, I knew this was coming.
The argument that
Them business trips? Okay, yeah.
Dude got very heated, but it did not become physically violent. Basically, Daniel just screamed and yelled at Elizabeth, swearing at her and kind of losing his temper completely. But at some point, Elizabeth just said, "Daniel, stop." Daniel would actually stop. And in fact, both Elizabeth and Daniel, when they recalled this night, would say as soon as she said stop, Daniel stopped yelling and he left. Over the next couple of days, Daniel and Elizabeth would go to therapy sessions at church, indicating that they both were making a concerted effort to try to salvage their marriage. But
So they trying to go, okay, they trying to put God in it to try to save their marriage, huh? So this is when things supposed to have gotten better, but apparently it must have got worse. I know the ending gonna be tragic, got to be tragic. It says mature audiences only, so it's gonna be a tragic at the end, but we're gonna see.
Days after
we shall see.
Fight about the affair, Elizabeth would go to police and claim Daniel had touched her inappropriately during the fight they had. So Daniel, much to his shock, was arrested and charged with something called open and gross lewdness, which is
open and gross lewdness. What the freaking heck? What Daniel do, bro? Daniel must be finger popped her on the. What he did? Punched her and finger popped her? What? I don't know what. That's crazy.
Effectively unwanted touching of a person. This accusation is quite common, especially amongst people at bars who are drinking. There's lots of unwanted touching.
I ain't never knew that.
But interestingly, this particular charge is cited as being one of the more frequently falsely accused offenses because the police do not require any physical proof to actually arrest someone. Basically, people are, in theory, able to get other people arrested simply by claiming they inappropriately touched them.
Dang.
Even if there is not a shred of proof. It's basically one person's word against another. After being found guilty of open and gross lewdness, Daniel was sentenced to 6 months of probation and management, and he had to register as a sex offender. Shortly after he was found guilty, Daniel filed for their divorce.
His wife had him locked up, though.
Who gets custody of their 3 kids was very contentious, it was very bitter, and it was very public. Because Elizabeth was a state senator, she was in the public eye, and because her campaign that she had run on to get elected was built entirely on wholesomeness and values and had a good moral character, that when rumors started to fly that she had had this affair with Tiger Helgelian and that had blown up her family and her husband is being charged with open and gross lewdness, it was so salacious that despite her denying that she ever had this affair and acting like she was in the right, she was still forced to resign from her state Senate seat in February of 2012.
All right, so all that hard work and time and effort and everything has gone down the drain for some Edie Bird. Dang, bro. And all this started off that business trip, and because she had that affair with that guy. But see how fast you can lose something, bro. That's crazy. Blink of an eye.
Divorce would finalize later that year, and most likely because of Daniel's new sex offender status from the open and gross lewdness charge, he was denied custody of the three children, despite the fact that for the last several years he had been the everyday primary parent. So Elizabeth, she gets custody of all three kids, and she promptly leaves Nevada to go to Alaska with her three kids to live with Tiger Helgelian.
Oh man, Tiger's still in the building. Alaska, damn.
Married Tiger Helgelian. Daniel was
married.
heartbroken. It was like his life had blown up in a matter of seconds. But most devastating of all was that his kids, who he called his three little angels, are now so far away from him
in
Alaska. He
couldn't
see them if he wanted to. But just like he had done back in 1994 when his father passed away, He'll just found a way to keep on going despite this horrible pain he was feeling. Over the next few years, Daniel would pour himself into his computer business, really make that his full time effort, and he would make every effort to see his children any chance he got. But
well, at least that's a good thing, bro. Daniel, he didn't go too far down. At least he still was able to focus on his computer business, man. And maybe that was a blessing for him, though. Because what happened to him, he didn't really cause it from what Mr. Ballin is saying. It was just his wife that wanted to be a bamboozle out there, with Tiger. That's all that guy's named Tiger right now to this day, bro.
Because his relationship with his ex-wife Elizabeth was not good, it was really difficult. Eventually, Daniel would meet another woman named Bogdana, and they would actually.
Oh shoot, Dan said he moving on too, huh?
It seemed like in the eyes
Dan
of his family, he was starting to kind of finally get his life back.
Yes,
around this time,
let's go, Big Daddy.
Sharing more and more of his life on social media channels, and every post he made, and he made lots of them, nearly every day, so overwhelmingly positive and optimistic. It really showcased his wonderful personality that was all about lifting up your.
What's up with people in these this? What's up with people in that? What's up with this? Man, I know somebody that do this all the time. Every picture they take. What's up with that two figures, yo? That's crazy.
And just being a good human being. And he also posted loads of videos of him goofing around with his three kids because he adored
little piece of head grease. My bad.
His kids. They were the most important thing to him by far. But despite having this very cheerful outward presence on social media, privately, Daniel was dealt yet another very difficult blow in 2019 when his marriage to Bogdana, his second wife, fell apart. But once again, Daniel,
the second wife done did him wrong too.
Social media posts around the time of the second divorce.
Daniel about to flip on somebody, bro. The second wife done did it to him now. Dang, but what? Daniel must have got something going on with him, man. Had to be.
Remained positive and very optimistic for the most part. But anytime you saw an image of Daniel actually facing the camera, you could just see a distinct sadness. But just as quickly as it seemed like, once again, Daniel's life was just going to crumble, something truly amazing happened for Daniel. Daniel's first ex-wife, Elizabeth, and their three kids
she want to come
decided to leave Alaska and come back to Nevada.
Oh, heck no.
Las Vegas. This was not because Elizabeth wanted to rekindle with Daniel.
Oh, I was about to say.
Just because she and the kids liked living in Las Vegas and wanted to come back. And as soon as they were back, Daniel suddenly got to see his kids all the time. He was so excited. Oh, man, so
that's a cute little picture. In
fact, by late 2020, Daniel's youngest daughter, Sierra, who was 16, she had basically just moved in with Daniel, even though, legally speaking, she was not supposed to be doing that. And her mom, Elizabeth, was totally unhappy about it. But regardless, that was just how it was. She was living with Daniel.
So her mom had to know about that, though. She was only 16. She was only 16, so that means her mom had to know where her whereabouts is at. How she didn't know that she's still with her dad, though.
In August of that year, so around the time that Sierra had basically moved back in with Daniel, Daniel decided to take his ex-wife, Elizabeth, back to court to see if he could get custody of Sierra, because Sierra was the only minor of their three children. She was still 16, and at that point, Sierra was already living with him. During the
But she
recorded
was
video
supposed to be living
sessions
with him
between
though.
Daniel, Elizabeth, and the judge, Daniel would tell the judge that life in Elizabeth's home was totally toxic, not good for his children, and certainly not good for Sarah. Daniel would explain to the judge that Sierra was really struggling with some mental health issues, and what she needed right now was professional therapy, something he had already enrolled her in since she had moved back in with him. Daniel also presented to the judge a letter that he said Sierra wrote that basically backed up the idea that she is better off living with her father. Elizabeth would generally respond to all of these things that Daniel was saying by saying Daniel was a liar and that he was not fit to be a parent. And that letter that he claims Sierra wrote doesn't sound like her, insinuating that the letter was forged. The judge, who at regular intervals would get very frustrated with both Daniel and Elizabeth, finally would just say, look, you've got all sorts of issues between the two of you, and it's creating a horrible environment for your kids. And if you don't find a way to come to some sort of compromise, the people that are going to suffer are your kids, specifically Sierra. Finally,
Yeah.
in early 2021, when Daniel and Elizabeth still had not come to terms, the judge just ordered that Daniel return Sierra to her mother's residence.
Dang, bro. I know that hurted Daniel right there, bro. I know that killed him.
Speaking,
He about to flip out now.
Sierra was supposed to be in her mother's care. And so begrudgingly, Daniel would take Sierra and he would bring her back to her mother's house and he'd say, okay, go see your mother, and then he would off. But later that night, Sierra would sneak out of her mother's house, run back to me. Needless to say, Daniel was not. The custody battle over Sierra continued to rage for the next several months, with Sierra opting to still remain at her father's place despite the court order, despite her mother pleading with her to come home. And then in April of 2021, something very odd happened. On the morning of April 8th, several $100s was withdrawn from the bank account from a few different ATMs around Vegas. This particular bank account was shared between Daniel and his second ex-wife, Bogdana. Hadn't gotten around to relinquishing control to one or the other.
Yeah.
And so these particular withdrawals were kind of uncharacteristic for Daniel or for Bogdana, and so they were flagged as potentially fraudulent. So the bank sent notifications to both Daniel and Bogdana saying as much. So Bogdana, she gets the messages that there's been these fraudulent charges. She knows it wasn't her, and so she calls Daniel, but Daniel doesn't pick up.
Daniel about to kill somebody, bro. No kidding. Daniel done had enough, bro. But you know what? The reason why I think that Daniel haven't really flipped out yet because he done had this is second divorce. Can't see his kids like that. He can't. He lost the custody battle. But Mr. Ballin also said like every time Daniel life has took a downfall, he been like blessed too, right behind it. So I think that kind of kept him a little bit of sane a little bit.
Next Daniel. Then silence for Daniel. Thinking this was a little bit odd, Bogdana reached out to Daniel's mother, Christine, knowing that Daniel and his mom spoke nearly every day. And so she filled the mother in about what
She kind of favor Jenner. Her name was Kris Jenner, the Kardashian mama.
what's going on. And after getting all the information from Bogdana, Christine would try calling and texting Daniel, but still got nothing. And so she reached out to her granddaughter, Sierra. Calls Sierra. Sierra doesn't pick up. Texts Sierra asking to speak to Daniel. Sierra doesn't get back right away, but eventually she responds to, and the response just said, his phone has been acting up, but he's okay. It should be fixed by tomorrow night. No worries. Now, Christine was relieved to read that her son and her granddaughter were just fine, but at the same time, there was just something odd about the fact that she could not get in touch with her son, and that Sierra was kind of acting a little bit cagey, not answering her phone, which was unlike her, and then sending a message that didn't quite sound like her. But either way, Christine just let it go and figured she would her son over the next 24 hours. But the next day, by 10 a.m., when Christine and Bogdana had heard or seen Daniel, Christine again reached out to her granddaughter, Sierra, called her, but she didn't pick up. And so she texted Sierra, this time demanding that she put her father on the phone. But Sierra did not put her father on the phone. Instead, after a few minutes, Christine just got another text message that said something to the effect of, my dad's in the shower, so he can't talk right. Christine, at this point, it was like her radar was up. And knew there
Something
was
ain't
a
right.
real problem. She didn't know what
Something
it
ain't
was,
right.
but there was a problem, and someone needed to go over to Daniel's house and make sure he and Sierra were okay. And so Christine contacted a woman named Peggy Newman, who was Daniel's landlord and a close friend of Daniel. She asked Peggy, would you mind going and doing a welfare check at Daniel's house? And Peggy would say, of course, no problem, but I won't be able to get over there for at least several hours. So Christine said, no problem. But as soon as she hung up, Christine just was so anxious, waiting to find out what was going on with her son, that at 1:46 p.m., when still Peggy was out running errands and had not done the welfare check yet, Christine just called the police and asked them to do a welfare.
Yeah, I need a welfare check.
So look, that's what you call it when you want somebody to ride past your house and check on things. Yeah, I'm gonna do a welfare check on my wife. I get married. Sometimes I'm gonna be at work. I'm gonna call the police and say, "Hey, can you do a welfare check for me?" I know at 3 o'clock in the morning, but this ride past. Bro, I know at 3 o'clock in the morning. 911, what's your problem? Yes, Mr. So and so, I'm calling from work. He did a welfare check at so and so address.
For my son. He's been missing for 2 days. His work's called, his family's called, I've called, his ex-wife's called.
The police, the dispatcher, like, what seems to be the problem? Well, I think somebody's over there killing the cooter.
And
I think it's a homicide, bro. I think somebody over there getting that cooter killed.
the phone and nobody, there's nothing. But nobody can get a hold of him, and then his work calls, and they can't get a hold of him, and it's really, really stupid. He just doesn't act like this.
But as it would happen, just a few minutes after Christine placed that 911 call, Peggy Newman and a friend of hers actually arrived at Daniel's residence ahead of the police. And so when they got there, they hopped out of their car, they walked up to the front door. And as they're knocking on the front door, they look over into the driveway and they see Daniel's car, which was a blue Nissan Altima, is not there. So they're knocking, they're seeing the car's not there, it's totally silent in the house. So Peggy, she reaches down and she tries the door knob and she finds it locked. So she twists the knob, she opens the door, and her friend stepped inside. Just minutes later, Peggy and her friend would come running out of the house. Peggy would call 911 because the police weren't there yet, and she would frantically try to describe to the dispatcher what she did. 24 hours earlier,
What she
a
saw?
man and a woman were spotted on surveillance camera withdrawing cash from several Las Vegas ATMs using Daniel's debit card. Those were the withdrawals that had been flagged as fraudulent and logged on and off that something could be wrong here. After those withdrawals, the man and the woman were spotted again on camera going into a Las Vegas supermarket called Winco, and inside they would purchase a few items using the card. Then they would leave and they would head to a Las Vegas Home Depot where once again they'd be caught on camera purchasing a few items using Daniel's debit card.
They so
After
stupid,
these
bro.
purchases, the man and the woman would make their way to Daniel's residence where they would spend the night. The following morning,
They spend the night. What? The criminals are spending the night at the victim's house, bro. I thought you're supposed to get your stuff and get out of Dodge or get out of town or whatever you're gonna do, but you're gonna commit crime and then spend the
Daniel's blue Nissan
That's
Altima
crazy.
car was spotted leaving Las Vegas at around 10:20 in the morning. That was about 3.5 hours before Peggy Newman and a friend went into Daniel's residence and then quickly turned around. When police finally did arrive at Daniel's residence on April 9th, and they pulled up and they saw Peggy Newman and her friend totally ashen-faced and pacing on the sidewalk, the police would get out, they would talk to those two, they would go inside of Daniel's residence, and they would see the horrible thing that Peggy and her friend had also seen. But
What they
the
seen?
police could not make sense of what they were seeing. It really just did not add
What
up.
was it, bro?
Then, 4 days later, on April 13th, police in Salt Lake City, Utah, just happened to find the man and the woman that were seen on camera on April 8th using Daniel's debit card and going to the Winco and the Home Depot. The police, they just happened to find these people on a bus in Salt Lake City. And after going through the man and the woman's belongings, including their phones, the police would discover a video that these two had taken of themselves in the last couple of days that explained what was inside of Daniel's house.
What the next time you see
What?
Maybe after and
Oh!
What?
Put that on the camera.
it's worth it.
What?
The young man and young woman you just saw joking on camera about murdering someone
Dang,
were
bro.
18-year-old Aaron Guerrero and his girlfriend, 16-year-old Sarah Halseth.
Dang.
Allegedly, on the morning
Oh man, Daniel, 16-year-old murked them, bro. That's why she been plotting on him the whole time. That's why she been wanting to. See, that's what I was trying to figure out too, bro. I was like, she's 16. He didn't have custody, but she would never leave him alone. Like she always want to stay with her dad. So she been plotting on him the whole time.
of April 8th, after Aaron and Sierra had pulled all that money out of all those different ATMs, they had gone to the Winco and purchased disposable gloves and bleach and drop cloths, and they had gone to the Home Depot and purchased a circular saw and saw blades and lighter fluid. Then they headed for Daniel's house. It's not been made public what actually occurred inside of Daniel's residence, but we can make a few assumptions. Daniel adored his children. There was no act there. He truly loved his children. And so it would never cross his mind that one of his children or one of their significant others would ever want to hurt him. And so when
Dang, bro.
Sierra and Aaron went inside of Daniel's house, it would have been extremely easy to sneak up on Daniel or just kind of catch him off guard because he's not looking to put up a fight. He thinks he's around people that love him and respect him because he loves and respects them. But however the young couple did it, they would inflict up to 70 stab wounds in Daniel's body, most of which were in the back of his head. And it's
Bro, what? 70 stab wounds? And most of it was in the back of his head? Bro, I feel sorry for Danny boy, man. R.I.P. to Danny boy, man. Danny love his kids. I gotta watch my kids, bro. I gotta watch them sapsuckers. If they did it to Danny, they'll do it to me. I heard to watch my kids. I don't trust nobody. I watch my kids. Danny, you got cops living, bro. I watch everybody, bro.
At some point during this vicious attack, they stuffed Daniel into a sleeping bag, and right in the middle of the living room of his house, they doused him in lighter fluid and lit him on fire. It's unclear what exactly killed Daniel or for how long he was actually conscious and aware of what was
And
happening.
then it looked like he pretty athletic, man. Like he could have been working out or something. Dang, bro. That's messed up how they did, my man. Boy, I tell you, it's a cruel, cold world out there. Cruel people.
But
Cruel,
it's very possible that Daniel had at least a small moment in time where he recognized his beloved little angel, Sierra, was actively trying to kill him. After Daniel was either dead or incapacitated, the young couple tossed their pocket knives in the sink, and then they retrieved their circular saw as well as a chainsaw, began attempting to dismember Daniel's body. But they were unable to do it, and so they just kind of set the saws down in the middle of Daniel's home with bits of Daniel stuck on the grooves of the saw. At that point, Aaron and Sarah attempted to destroy evidence inside of the house by scrubbing.
Bro, how you 16 and 18 and you saw your own dad up? A good dad? You sit there, oh my God, bro. That's
Rubbing everything down with bleach, but it was totally ineffective. And so at that point, the couple decided they would just burn the entire house down. That would destroy all the evidence. And so around the time that Christine texted Sierra and demanded to speak to Daniel, Sierra wrote back, "Oh, he's in the shower. He can't talk to you right now." That was probably around the time that Sierra and Aaron were actively trying to burn the house down. But the fire they set was just not very big and it kind of smoldered out. So they would just kind of leave all of the evidence all over Daniel's house, and they would leave Daniel's destroyed and burned body kind of propped up or leading into the garage, and they would just leave the house, hop in Daniel's niece Ultima. Around 10:20 in the morning, they would leave Las Vegas. The only reason police were able to apprehend Aaron and Sierra in Salt Lake City a few days later was because the couple had made their way to Salt Lake City and hopped on the bus. Aaron had not paid the fare. He had just stuck on the bus. So at some point, the transit authority had come.
Bro, you got to be the stupidest.
People to show their tickets. Aaron didn't have one.
You got to be the stupidest. You're not trying to cut up a dead body. And you're going to draw that much attention to you by not paying for your bus ticket. Bro.
So when they discovered this, they asked for his name, and when they put his name in the system, it popped up that the Las Vegas PD were actively searching for him. While only Sierra knows why she turned on the one man who would forever love her and forever support her, what we do know is around the time that Daniel and Elizabeth had gone back to court, they were having those virtual meetings with the judge to decide who was going to have custody over Sierra. Sierra had begun dating Aaron. She'd fallen totally in love with him. And it seemed very much like Aaron had totally fallen in love with her. And somehow Daniel caught wind of the fact that Aaron and Sierra were planning to run away secretly and go move to Los Angeles. And so when Daniel heard this, he told his ex-wife Elizabeth they would go and talk to Aaron's parents about this. And both sets of parents talked and decided it was in both child's best interest if they stopped seeing each other. And so, starting in early 2021, the parents forbade their child from seeing each other. That was it. But even though all the parents were involved in this decision, because Sierra was at the time living with Daniel, it seemed like she focused her rage about this decision on Daniel, because he was the one kind of enforcing the rule. And so it's believed in April of that year, Sierra decided she would just have to kill her father in order to get her boyfriend. In Daniel's obituary, his family very conspicuously left Sierra out, saying that Daniel was survived by 2 loving children, not 3. His family has also come out and publicly stated that they hope Sierra and her boyfriend are given the harshest penalty allowable by law. Despite the existence of this confession video that Aaron and Sierra took of themselves, talking about murdering Daniel, they have pled not guilty and currently awaiting trial. So that's going to do it. If you got something
not guilty
and you haven't done this already, please move in to the room directly above the like buttons apartment and immediately begin hosting tap dancing class.
Bro, so they decided to take that case to trial. To take it to trial, bro. They already got caught using his ATM card. They bought all this stuff that was in the house when they left all the evidence. They're on camera in multiple places, and they got caught trying to flee. And they decide they're gonna take this to trial. They might get a death penalty, bro. They get found guilty. This is probably already over. This story probably already over. I have to Google it and see what happened to them, but they probably already did. They probably already got executed or something, or lethal injection. Because ain't no way in the world on God's green earth with this type of story. And Daniel was a good dad. And y'all killed the man just to be together. And you want to take it to trial? All right. Okay. I'm pretty sure they probably on death row right now, waiting to get, the death penalty. But Mr. Baller, man, you be having some good, great, amazing stories, bro. You the best storyteller ever, man. Sometimes I feel like. But I'm out of here, man. It's getting pretty low. It's early, but it's late. It was a pretty long live. But to the ones that came, man, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming inside. There's going to be more lives coming here soon. I'm glad the fact that I got my microphone right and everything is good. No echo sound, and y'all can hear me pretty loud and clear. It's about to take off now. A lot more